right? What we're seeing here is a very minimal or minimalist representation of the human body, right? Very simplistic. Not at all 100% accurate because a lot of things are off here. The shape is off, right? This is not how the body looks. It's not a square. Okay, the sizes are off, the proportions are off, and so on and so forth. But what this image is really good at is giving us a representation of what the various body compartments or body environments are. Okay? You can see the internal environment. Everything in yellow here is called the internal environment. And that can be contrasted with the external environment, which is everything outside or everything in blue. Okay? And this is a very important relationship to understand how the external environment comes in contact with the internal. Now let's look at what specifically encompasses the internal environment. So anything that's immediately surrounding the cells in the body is constituted as your internal environment. Right? So this includes any tissue fluid, which we call interstitial fluid. We'll talk more about that, as well as your plasma. And plasma is basically the watery component in your blood. Right? If you remove the cells, that fluid, colorless component that's left is called your plasma. So anything around your cells, right, as well as these two fluid compartments, constitutes your internal environment. That can be contrasted with your external environment. This is what's going on outside, right? This is outside of the epithelial layers of the human body. Now, when I say epithelial, and we'll talk more about this when we get to the integumentary system, but this is that layer of cells that sits between the external environment and the internal environment. In this image, we can see the nutrients, water, and waste, right? They're going to be moving through the gastrointestinal system. Now, there's a layer of cells that sits between the internal environment in yellow and your external environment here in blue, and this is your epithelial layer. Right? So anything that sits outside of that epithelial layer is your external environment. Some examples here are the surroundings of your external skin, so everything outside of your body skin, the air within your lungs. Very important to understand that although your lungs are inside your body, the air within your lungs is still exposed to your external environment. Right? The food in your GI tract is still a part of your external environment. And then the urine in your bladder is also still exposed to your external environment. Okay, so you have your internal environment and your external environment. Now, it's very important to understand that both of these environments, they must interact with one another. They must exchange. Why do you think it's important to have these two environments exchange and interact? Why do you think that's important? Why is it important for the external environment to interact or to exchange with the internal environment and vice versa?
Because our internal environment needs things from the external environment, and rid of the backup.
Okay, perfect. Well said. So our internal environment needs things that are outside, that are in the external environment. All right, and vice versa. There are things that we have in our internal environment that we need to get rid of, we need to eliminate from the body. So that exchange is very important. We can bring in things like nutrients in the gut, we can bring in oxygen in the lungs, and we can eliminate waste products, so ammonia in the form of urine or carbon dioxide in the lungs. Okay, so that interaction and that exchange is very important. Now, the exchange can happen at several locations, which we just mentioned. There's the lungs, the gastrointestinal tract, the kidneys, and there are a few mechanisms by which it's exchanged. All right, an example is across the gut or across the GI tract. There are two mechanisms called absorption and secretion. Absorption and secretion. Absorption is where we're bringing things in that we want. We're bringing in nutrients across that epithelial barrier. right? That's going to help to nourish the body. Food that we eat is absorbed across the GI tract. Secretion is going to be the opposite. We're going to eliminate things that we do not want. Right? In the case of the lower intestines at the gut, we can eliminate some excess water there. Right? And that's a form of secretion. Secretion also happens in the kidneys, where we fine-tune some of those electrolyte levels in the blood. Across the kidneys, there's filtration, reabsorption, and then again, secretion. So what is filtration? What is filtration? What does it sound like? What does it seem like? What is filtration? Hmm?
I said filters out.
All right, filters out, right? So it's going to be a selective removal of certain molecules, but not others, right? So in the case of the kidneys, there is this apparatus called the glomerulus, where your blood is squeezed through the sieve-like structure, where certain molecules will pass through and others will not, and this is called filtration. And then there's reabsorption. And how does reabsorption differ from absorption?
Because reabsorption was already in the body and then it's that again.
Okay, right, so reabsorption is where we reabsorb something that was secreted. Okay, we reabsorb it, or absorption for the second time. All right. Now, in terms of understanding the body compartments, we also need to look at the fluid compartments, right? Because the body is divided, the fluid in certain locations is compartmentalized in certain fluid compartments that we're going to look at. Okay, and it's important to understand that form follows function. That's a continuous theme that you're going to see throughout this course. Something looks a certain way, something is divided a certain way, that is going to aid in its function. Okay, now the body is divided into compartments based upon membranes, right? Membranes, and these membranes are semi-permeable. What does semi-permeable mean? What does semi-permeable mean?
Allows certain things in, keep certain things out.
Good. So it's going to allow certain things to cross and other things will not, right? This is a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, and as a result, transport can occur between those various compartments. You can go from vessels, right, into cells. You can go into cells, outside of cells. You can go from the internal environment to the external environment, and so on and so forth. All right, so the first sort of general body compartment that we're going to look at is called the total body water. The total body water. And in our minimalist picture, this is all the fluid that is inside the internal environment. All right, with the exception of everything in this purple color, everything inside the internal environment, all the water, all the fluid in the internal environment is called the total body water. Right? This consists of water and any of the dissolved materials that are in that water, including the fluid inside of cells, which we call the cytoplasm, the fluid around cells, and then the fluid inside our vessels. Okay, so all the fluid is lumped into this large compartment called the total body water. And this is going to contribute to our weight. Why? How does this contribute to our weight? Because we're significantly made up of what? Water, right? Good. All right, now if you look further, if you break down this total body water further, there are two general compartments here. There's the ICF, which is your intracellular fluid or your intracellular fluid compartment. And this is basically the fluid that is inside your cells. Right, if you remember from your previous learning that a cell, right, was covered or encased by a bilipid layer, which formed the membrane, plasma membrane. And inside that, we had several organelles that were floating around in the cytoplasm. Well, that cytoplasm, or that fluid in the cell, is mainly what forms your ICF, your intracellular fluid compartment. Okay. Then there's your extracellular fluid compartment. This is everything that is not inside the cell. When you look at the image on the right here, Okay, everything that's not inside these cells constitutes your extracellular fluid. Okay, it's still inside your internal environment, but it's not inside your cells. Whereas the intracellular fluid was everything inside your cells. So you have your red blood cells, you have your tissue cells here. All right, so I'll say that again. Your intracellular fluid is everything inside your cells. Your extracellular fluid is within your internal environment, but it is not inside the cells, right? It's going to be in your tissues, surrounding your tissues. It's called interstitial fluid, or surrounding other cells, as well as surrounding your red blood cells, which we call plasma. Okay? So the ECF has two smaller subdivisions. All right, let's look at some numbers here. Now, this is the total body water distribution for a healthy adult male. Okay, so these numbers can differ very greatly for an elderly, for a child, for a woman, and they can differ depending on the state of the body. If you're diabetic, if you're pregnant, these can differ greatly. All right, so you're not really focused on memorizing these, right? That's not the focal point here, but what we want to understand is the different proportions of these numbers. Okay, so let's take a healthy adult male, and his total body water is 42 liters. Okay. Of that 42 liters, the intracellular fluid, where did we say the intracellular fluid was? Inside the cells. Of that 42 liters, 28 liters was inside the cells. Okay, you can see how significant a chunk of that total body water is the amount of fluid that is actually in the cell. When we look at the ECF, the extracellular fluid, that's only 14 liters. Right, so about a third of that is outside of the cells. And if you look further at the ECF, it's further divided into your plasma and your interstitial fluid. And again, another large chunk of that ECF is in your interstitial fluid, and a very small amount is your plasma. Okay, so the take-home message here is really understanding those proportions. A large chunk of your total body water is the fluid within your cells, and a large chunk of your extracellular fluid is the interstitial fluid, the fluid that surrounds